Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson from Save the Children, and we're going to be talking about some tips for teaching kids and some tips for talking to kids about disasters. So you're thinking about leading a prep rally events. You may have experience working with children and you may not, but there's a few things that we should keep in mind because they have a unique way of learning and understanding and relating to the world. So we need to be aware and considerate of that. So when you're teaching kids, consider a few things. One, you need to establish control from the beginning. Kids have a lot of energy and a lot of it's positive and good-willed, but you have to make sure that you have control of them so things don't get out of order quickly. So if there's a sign that you want to establish to say that it's time to get quiet, you can use a focus fox or clap twice. That's just a good way to remind kids that there is a time for fun, but there is a time that you need to pay attention, and then so that they can learn the important information that you've brought to them. Make sure that you use simple and age-appropriate language. So you might be using a lot of terms like emergency or disaster, and especially the younger kids might not know exactly what you mean by that. So make sure that you define key terms and do so in a way that isn't using more difficult words. So think about simple wording and make sure that you speak slowly and clearly, and then ask the kids if they understand afterwards. So that would be confirming understanding. And if they have additional questions, they will ask that to you. Make sure that you ask questions. We have, within the Prep Rally Guide and Prep Rally Playbook, we have discussions, and it has questions that will help lead the discussions on different prep steps and how you get ready for emergencies. But don't be afraid to ask additional questions. Within this discussion section, if kids are being quiet, give them enough time to think about it, because some of these questions do require some thinking time. Make sure that you're asking questions to all the different children so you give them the opportunity to participate. So don't just stop with one answer. Give everyone the opportunity to answer. And always be encouraging. Kids are very creative, and so sometimes the answers they give, they might not be right. But make sure that you thank them for giving that answer, and if you can, help them get to the correct answer. Never say you're wrong or that was dumb. Again, be positive and help them get to that right answer, and make sure that you encourage that behavior from the whole group. Use examples and demonstrations. So as adults, we get used to listening to long talks, kind of like this one. But kids, they need to be able to see it, they need to be able to do it. And we've designed the Prep Rally curriculum to use demonstrations and games to help you make the content more lively. But don't be afraid to bring in some extra images or some extra games that helped you as you've learned about different topics. Be affirming. Again, kids love to be recognized. They love to know that they're right and that they're on the right track. So thank them for giving answers. Thank them for getting the right answer. Thank them for trying their best. And most important, have fun. Kids are fun, and sometimes we're a little too serious. So make sure that you, even though you're establishing control, you allow yourself to have some fun and be approachable to children. So when we're talking to kids about disasters, some people get a little scared about it because we're like, oh, this is a very serious subject. But when it comes down to it, by teaching kids about disasters, we're giving them a sense of mastery and understanding of what's going on, so that when a disaster strikes, they can know what to do, they can feel more calm and less anxious, and they can follow instructions. So by teaching them about this, we're helping them stay safe. Now, that being said, there's some things that we need to consider when we're talking about disasters, again, to make sure that we're not causing extra trauma or making them worried about disasters. So from the beginning, explain why you're here. So for example, we're here at the Prep Rally today because we're going to be talking about what happens during disasters so that we can know what to do and that we can stay safe. Be honest. Never lie to children. First of all, they usually know what's going on anyways. They'll know when you're lying. But in doing so, again, give age-appropriate information. You don't have to give them all the gruesome details. For example, it's true that in a disaster, people could get hurt or they could even die, but that's not going to be the focus of what we're talking about. Again, bring it back to we're here to learn about disasters so that we can stay safe. Listen, one of the best ways you can know what kids already know about disasters is to hear what they have to say. So if they ask you a difficult question and you're not quite sure what they already know or what level detail to get, ask them a follow-up question. So what kind of damage does a tornado cause? Well, you can actually ask them back, be like, well, what do you think? And then make sure that you can correct their answer in a way that's appropriate. So I think a tornado might destroy the building and the town, and then you could correct that by saying, yes, a tornado is a storm that could cause a lot of damage, but we're taking precautions to make sure that everyone's safe, and when a tornado comes, it's likely only going to affect a very small area. So those kinds of things. Be reassuring. So children can experience stress when they're facing against something that they don't understand. So make sure throughout the program you're talking about things that make them feel safe and reassuring them that in any kind of emergency situation, adults are going to be trying to keep them safe. There's going to be people like first responders and medical services who are working to keep them safe and get them reunited with their families. Limit graphic images. So again, within the Prep Rally curriculum, we've used cartoon images of different disasters so that it won't be too traumatizing, but also stay away from adding any additional images into the curriculum. We don't necessarily, again, need to focus on the destruction. And also in aftermath of an emergency in particularly, if they're seeing that image over and over again, children have a tendency to think that the disaster is actually happening again. So that's just something to take in consideration if you're working with an audience who just recently experienced a disaster. Focus on learning. Again, we know disasters can cause damage, but we're going to focus on the educational aspects. How is it related to science? How is it related to weather? How is it related to reading when you're doing the story activity and reading comprehension? Think about those things. Recognize helpers. Again, when disaster strikes, recognize there's people who are there to help. This will help kids know that there is someone working to keep them safe and keep them calm. Know your audience. Again, if you're going into a community or a group that you don't normally work with, make sure you ask the leader what the kids are experiencing, or if they've experienced any recent disasters, or if there's content that they should stay away from for any particular reason. And lastly, but important, it's okay to say, I don't know. We know that you are not an emergency manager or a meteorologist, and kids ask some crazy questions. It is okay to say, I don't know. But if you do, I encourage you to find the answer. We have a lot of great resources in the family guide. We have a disaster resource guide, as well as you can find a lot of information at FEMA.gov, redcross.org, or SaveTheChildren.org to help you find the answer. So that's it. Make sure again that you are taking into consideration what you're saying to kids, because it'll stick with them, but most importantly, thank you for taking the chance and going out and sharing your knowledge with kids. Hope you have a great event.